When my son was around 4 months old, I was breastfeeding him at Jefferson's. While giving him the healthiest thing that I had to offer, a woman approached me and stated that I needed to take my breastfeeding and my son to the restroom because she did not want her husband to look at me. Outraged by her opinion that she felt like she needed to share with me, I continued to discreetly and quietly breastfeed my son until he was full. This opinion of breastfeeding my son to be compared to using the restroom was absolutely absurd. It not only made me a bigger breastfeeding advocate than I already was, but also encouraged me to look up the statistics on how many mothers do breastfeed, how many mothers are successful in breastfeeding, and how many mothers stop due to discrimination. In Alabama, a woman has the right to breastfeed legally anywhere she is allowed to be. So yes, she can breastfeed, walking around Walmart uncovered, and there's nothing anyone can do. Although it may be legal to breastfeed in many public places, it is important that one respect others while doing so. My son would never keep a cover over his head, and I don't blame him, and was much more likely to unlatch to pull the cover off if it were there. The t-shirt method was wonderful for this because I could keep a tank top on under my regular shirt and breastfeed him quietly and discreetly. Throughout my speech, you will be informed of many things you may not know about breastfeeding, such as, number 1, the statistics on how many women breastfeed and how many stop due to discrimination. Number 2, the legal rights of a breastfeeding mother. And number 3, ways you can suggest to or help a new mother by encouraging her in the discretion or decency of her breastfeeding. Let's begin by looking at the statistics on breastfeeding mothers. Breastfeeding is one of the most natural things that a woman can do. Breastfeeding was around way before bottles or formula or anything like that, and it was the only way that a mother had to feed her child. Breastfeeding statistics have obviously almost diminished compared to before formula or bottles existed, but let's take a look at the statistics for the years most recently. The percentage of U.S. infants who began breastfeeding is high at 77%. While there is certain that infants are not breastfed for as long as recommended, the National Immunization Survey data show continued progress has been made over the last 10 years. Of infants born in 2010, 49% were breastfed up until 6 months, up from 35% in 2000. The breastfeeding rate at 12 months increased from 16% to 27% in that same time frame, 2000 to 2010. While breastfeeding rates are once again becoming extremely high at almost 77%, in that same time frame, 2000 to 2010, breastfeeding discrimination has risen from 5% to 11%. Discrimination against breastfeeding mothers is more or less defined as verbally or physically compromising their right to breastfeed and making said mother feel as if she is doing something wrong. Let's move on and discuss the legalities of a breastfeeding mother. Did you know breastfeeding mothers have rights as well? Mothers who do breastfeed should take it upon themselves to be polite and respect others while breastfeeding in public. According to National Conference of State Legislators, 49 states, the District of Columbia, and the Virgin Islands have laws that specifically allow women to breastfeed in any location, public or private. This means that although discrimination against isn't actually illegal, breastfeeding moms do have legal rights all over the United States. In most every location they are allowed to breastfeed. Last but not least, let's take a look at ways you can suggest to or help a newly breastfeeding mother feel more confident in the discretion or decency of her breastfeeding. One of the best things that you can do to help a newly breastfeeding mother is to encourage her. Even if you're uncomfortable, encourage her. She is doing the best thing possible for her child. And if you discourage, it could potentially lead to her not breastfeeding anymore. So offer a tip. Hi, I see you're breastfeeding. That's wonderful, and I'm so glad that you were able to give your child something as good as breast milk. Can I offer you a tip? I know babies don't like to eat under a cover. I don't either. But the two-shirt method works wonderful. In this method, you wear a tank top under your main shirt, and you pull up your main shirt when you have to breastfeed, your tank top leaving your bottom covered, and your overshirt leaving the top of your breast covered. You never know whether or not the breastfeeding mother felt uncomfortable about the top of her breast showing as well. Alright, so now you have seen the statistics on breastfeeding mothers, the legal rights of a breastfeeding mother, and have been taught about ways to encourage or suggest to a breastfeeding mother. When you see a breastfeeding mother, congratulate her. She has succeeded in fulfilling the nourishment of her child, and it's not easy. Many mothers cannot do that, and it takes extra courage to do it in public.